Your next question.
Mr. Bania, before lunch we were talking about your opinions in response to the testimony of Mr. Schnell. Did you also analyze the testimony of Ms. Arnold in this case?
Yes, I did.
And are you aware of her opinion that Ms. Heard's career would have followed the same trajectory as that of Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, Zendaya, Ana de Armas, and Chris Pine, if not for the Waldman statements?
Yes.
What's your understanding of Ms. Arnold's basis for her opinion that Ms. Heard's career should have been similar to that of those identified actors?
Ms. Arnold stated that when producers or her industry is looking to hire talent and actors, that it's important to best understand the public's perception of the actors that they're considering, and that it's important to look into social media to see what is happening with the actors they're considering for either a movie or even an endorsement opportunity with companies. So that was her approach.
And is that the process she followed in providing her analysis of those purportedly comparable actors?
No. Although she stated that, she went in and brought in these alleged comparable actors, and without really reasoning behind that.
Did you conduct an analysis based on your expertise in social media and internet analytics of Ms. Heard compared to the actors to whom Ms. Arnold compares her?
I did.
And what did you find?
Well, since Ms. Arnold stated that the proper approach is looking at the public perspective, looking into social media, and she did not do that, I felt that was the best approach to do this based on her words. So yes, I did go into best understanding the public perspective of Ms. Heard and the alleged comparable actors using Q scores. And then I also went and did some analysis online and on social media as well.
Can you briefly remind the jury what Q scores are?
Yeah, again, Q scores measure how well a celebrity, it could be a cartoon character, it could be a sports person, how well they're known, how well they're liked, and how much they're disliked. And it's an industry standard tool that's used. It's not just focused on the movies that they're in, but it's focused on them as actors, but also what's happening in their personal lives come to play as well. So that's how Q scores are typically used.
Did you prepare a demonstrative that reflects the Q score analysis you completed?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach again?
All right, thank you.
No objection to the demonstrative.
All right, we'll identify plaintiffs 1296 for identification and publish to the jury.
Mr. Bania, what point in time do these Q scores represent that are reflected on your demonstrative?
So these are the winter 2019 Q scores that are reflected here. And what was important for me is I wanted to find Q scores that represented Ms. Heard after Aquaman. And remember, Aquaman is December of 2018. These Q scores were gathered January and February of 19, but before the Waldman statements. And
what did you find based on the Q scores that you looked at?
So as you see here on the left are positive Q scores, and the higher the number, the better. As you can see, Ms. Gadot has the highest Q score out of the group of actors here at a 28. But you're going to notice Ms. Heard has the lowest positive Q score. She has a 9. So I find that very interesting that she doesn't appear to fit in as a comparable with these alleged comparable actors. I think what's also interesting is the average Q score for all actors being scored at that time, which include all the alleged comparable actors here, score at an average of 17. And you can see, again, she is 9, well below that. And then on the right side, you're going to see the negative Q scores. So this is how much people dislike you. So the lower the score is better. You can see Mr. Momoa is over here with the lowest at an 8, but you can see Ms. Heard is over here at a 28, which was quite a difference. A 20-point difference from Mr. Momoa, and also a 10-point difference, from the average of all actors. So she is very, very much little. Her positive score is very low, and her negative score is very high, which tells me that she does not fit in as a comparable as it relates to these alleged comparable actors.
What opinions did you form based on that Q-score analysis?
My opinions as it relates to these Q scores is, Miss Arnold used these actors as allegedly comparable actors. But really, listening to her testimony yesterday, it appears that she's abandoned this approach. I don't think she's using these comparable actors or these alleged comparable actors anymore. She's more relying on her experience, and I agree with that.
Did Ms. Arnold offer a criticism of your use of the Q-scores here?
She did, yes.
And what's your understanding what that criticism is?
Well, what I believe she was saying is that I should have ran Q scores for these allegedly comparable actors after each of their breakout films, which I disagree. First of all, Q scores doesn't work like that. Q scores are available twice a year, so it's not that I could pick a month or a different month for each of the Q score actors. So I feel that, what was important for me, and this doesn't always happen when I'm using Q scores, you can get this perfect moment in time, as Ms. Heard said, as Ms. Arnold said, that, Aquaman was Ms. Heard's breakout moment. So these scores reflect that breakout moment, and they're terrible Q scores.
How would your analysis change if you had used Ms. Arnold's logic with respect to the timing of the Q scores that you looked at?
I mean, if you really think about what Ms. Arnold was saying, is she's saying that she thinks Q scores are the highest for each actor right after their breakout moment. So I would think, if anything, these Q scores could have been a bit lower, because it's not right after their breakout moment. But what's important for me is the fact that these scores reflect, who Amber Heard was at the time before the Waldman statements, but after the Aquaman release.
We can take that one down, Tom. Thank you. What other work have you done in connection with forming your opinions in this case?
Again, taking the advice from Ms. Arnold, it's important. She says the industry looks into social media, what their followings are like, with the numbers as it relates to their followers. Again, what is the public perception of them? So I analyzed their social media accounts, but prior to the Waldman statement. So.
And how did you do that?
Yeah, so what I did, I don't know if you're all familiar with the archive.org. They have a tool called the Wayback Machine. What archive.org does is it archives the internet. So you can go back in time to see what websites and web pages used to look like in the past. Not all the time can you actually get a celebrity's social media accounts to have been archived, but we were fortunate that each of the alleged comparable actors' social media accounts were in archive.org. So I was able to go back in time prior to the Waldman statements to see what the following activity was for each of the alleged comparable actors.
Mr. Bania, did you prepare a demonstrative that reflects your social media analysis?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
No objection to the demonstrative.
All right, we'll mark it for identification purposes, plaintiffs 1297 and publish.
Mr. Bania, could you tell the jury what you found when you looked at the social media?
Yeah, so what I found, again, this is prior to the Waldman statements. First thing you're going to notice here is not all actors use social media. You're going to see Mr. Pine doesn't have Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and Momoa and DeArmas don't use Facebook or Twitter. But what's important to look at is you have Ms. Heard prior to the Waldman statements with 3.8 Instagram followers and 142,500 Twitter followers. And then you move down to Gal Gadot with 37 million Instagram followers compared to her 3.8 million. And 2.3 million Twitter followers compared to Ms. Heard's 142,000. And you can then even go down to Zendaya with 65.9 and 17.2 million Twitter followers. What this is telling me is really, more people are interested in Ms. Gadot and Zendaya and even Mr. Momoa than Ms. Heard on social media. It just tells me a lot of people are interested in these actors as opposed to Ms. Heard, more of a following. Q scores, well-liked, less disliked. So it kind of fits into the analysis of determining whether or not these alleged comparable actors are actually comparable.
Based on your expertise, what are your overall opinions about Ms. Arnold's analysis of the so-called comparable actors?
Yes, again, it appears that she's abandoned this approach, and I agree with that. I feel that, through the Q-score analysis and the social media analysis, that they're just not comparable.
Tom, we can take that one down. Mr. Bania, based on all the analysis you did in this case, what are your overall opinions?
Yes, my overall opinions are that Mr. Schnell failed to prove any causal connection with the Waldman statements and the search or the hashtag activity, those spikes as it relates to Twitter. There's no causal connection there. My second opinion is, based on my social media and Q-score analysis, Ms. Arnold's alleged comparable actors are not comparable. And then third, Ms. Arnold and Mr. Schnell both failed to prove any causation as it relates to the Waldman statements causing economic harm to Ms. Heard. So, as a damages expert, which Ms. Arnold is, you need to take into consideration causation before you can calculate damages. You look at damages and you look at this allegedly damaging event, and not only do you have to prove that 100% of the damages because of these Waldman statements, she didn't even consider COVID. It happened at the same time. A lot of actors probably made a lot less money because of COVID. Maybe films didn't get made. And, when you do an analysis of damages, you prove causation, but you also have to look at everything else that might have caused this alleged economic harm. And she didn't look into any of that. She didn't even know what causation was. So I don't think damages is an appropriate approach in this case.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.